do about 40 million in revenue next year. I have over 1 million customers come to our businesses each and every single year.
In my 35 years in business, I built 19 companies, invested in 79 startups, and made more money than I'll ever need. I've worked with and competed against some of the top entrepreneurial minds in the world, and the man I'm about to introduce you to is absolutely one of them. During his 23 years in business, James Sinclair has built 17 businesses, employing over 1,200 people, and is generating 40 million every year in revenue. In this video, he's going to give you the exact blueprint behind building $1 million businesses with hardly any money. If I were to charge you for the following, it would likely be worth $15,000, but I'm going to give it to you for free. So if you can't sit down, get a notepad and listen. I'm sorry, but you're probably not going to make it. This video is sponsored by Surfshark. So what are people going to get from the video today?
I think how to get customers as frugally as possible. How to build businesses that have got credible margin in them. We're thinking about exit. We're building to exit, BIL, building to exit. I want people to focus on businesses that have 1 million plus revenue, that are run under management. So number 5 is we're going to try and use the rule of 4. I'll explain that in a minute. Number 6, we want a hungry audience as part of our philosophy. Number 7, we want the 4 company rules. And number 8, we'll talk about our people.
All right, so how to get customers?
So we want to make sure that we're doing it as frugal as possible because we're a startup. We're an entrepreneur.
Frugal means do it at low cost, not spending money.
It's a great philosophy. Even when you're at the top of the game and you're turning billions, you always want to have a frugal mindset. And the difference between costs and investments. So we want to be frugal on our costs so that we can be generous on our investments. So frugal on costs, so we can be generous on investment. So what would that mean in reality? Well, we want to be generous on R&D, on new product launches, or maybe we're going to buy the commercial property that our business operates out of. We want to be so frugal on our costs so that we can actually do the investing.
Again, I'm building a tech business right now, helpbank.com, and I pretend I've got no money when I'm building it.
That's exactly
because I would get a big fancy office in London and waste a lot of money, and the customer doesn't benefit.
Yeah.
So frugal also, the way I translate this, also means that the customer will have a better price, the customer will have more value for their money, right?
And for you to stay in the game. And lots of people, when they're getting customers, become lazy marketeers and they're thinking, I must do Google ads, I must do Facebook ads in my quest to get customers.
So looking for lazy ways to get customers that cost money as opposed to
But so you become a direct response marketeer. That's what you need to be, guerrilla marketeer. And more of the stuff that you would do. Yes, make content marketing, but content marketing takes time to build. It's not going to get you instant returns. So knocking on the doors, leaflets, direct mail, picking up the phone, email, newsletters, good old-fashioned stuff. In fact, a really good, it's quite relevant at the moment in the UK. We're going through an election process. And this isn't political here, but you see what people are doing to get into public office. They'll do newspaper interviews. They will knock on doors. They will do leaflets through doors. They're doing really good old-fashioned stuff as well as the modern technology.
Before we go any further, I have to tell you a little bit about our sponsor of today's video. Now, please don't scroll on because Surfshark have sponsored this video that allows us to give money away to people just like you to fund dreams. And I want to show you how they allow me and my business to stay safe online. Now, like many of you, as a busy entrepreneur, I like to work on the go, whether this be on a long train journey or a busy cafe. But the public Wi-Fi is a hotspot for hackers trying to steal your personal information and compromise your future business plans. This is why in part I've asked Surfshark to sponsor this video, so I can keep you safe online at all times and give your business the best chance of success. Surfshark's VPN service encrypts your data, helping secure all of your personal information. It also blocks malware and phishing attempts using their Clear Web feature, allowing you to surf the web safely. Go to surfshark.com/Simon Squibb for an extra 4 months of Surfshark, or use the link in the description to stay safe online. Surfshark also offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so it's totally risk-free to try it out. What are you waiting for?
If we look at this here, market, message, media. So we identify who our market is. Most people will have that in their mind, but committed to paper. So we talk about our market. What's their pain points? What really hurts them? What's their income levels? What do they really want from a product or service? And then our message to them. So we've identified our market. Now, what's that message to them? And this is where you need to get really good at working on headlines. One of the best ways you can get really good at working on headlines is actually use social media, because it teaches you very quick. If you start putting YouTube
hooks,
out,
you need good hooks.
that headline, doesn't matter how good your video is. If no one clicks on it, no one's watching the video. So we get really good at understanding headlines and copy. This is why when you learn to write, and I'm no good at, I think I'm close to dyslexic, but I force myself to write, and the better I write, the better my videos are, because it just helps your brain. And then lastly, the media. Now, what's happened, if you was a 1970s marketeer, you would have always gone this way round. You would have thought, who's my market? Because advertising was very expensive, marketing was very expensive. You want to build something on TV.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was probably a board level decision.
6 months work.
Yeah, make a video, but no, we need to get sign off on this. So you made sure that you thought about your market, you made sure you thought about your message, and then you thought about the media. And so that's traditionally how marketing went round. Who's my market? What's our message to them? What's our media? Now, because media is cheap and you can have a TV studio in your pocket by your iPhone, people have gone this way around.
That's why I love people today realising that they could start a business, because it's so cheap. Like Henry Ford used to have to go get a factory, make the car, then market it. Like nowadays, like Elon Musk, he basically promoted the Cybertruck, got everyone to pre-order it and pay a deposit before it was even made, before there was even a factory making it, all through media, right?
Yeah. But I still want people to think in this direction. I want them to think about their market, what's their pain point, who they are, then what's your message to them, and then the media.
You can guess. What you can do though is you can work on this, and if you're not sure, you can test it in media.
Yeah.
Put it on social media and see would you buy this? Like that's what crowdfunding sites are very good for, right? Because you can like pre-buy a product that isn't even made yet, same sort of model, but that's really cool.
So we've done market, message, media. We thought about market. What's our message? What's our media? Well, how can we start crafting better marketing? Whether making a video, a sales letter, a TikTok video, a podcast, whatever. Use this really simple form, which is called AIDA. So what we're doing is we're thinking about how can we get people's attention. So that's the headline of your video. How can we keep their interest in the video, keep them watching? How can we get them to make a decision that they want to buy from us? And what's our call to action? So attention, interest, decision, action. You should be crafting all of your how to get customers marketing around this simple formula. My experience, business owners are very good at this once they get the conversation. So they get people's interest. Like, I meet you, Simon, I want to buy something from you. I think, oh, you're a really nice guy. Yeah, I'm interested in you. I made a decision I want to buy from you, but they're not very good at these 2 points: getting attention and getting people to take action straight away. If you can get all 4 things lined up and get all very good at them, then you're going to start winning and getting customers. Especially this call to action. There should always be offers, not discounting, but always offers. And think about risk reversal, because the customer or the prospect is thinking, well, what's the risk of me buying from them? I mean, are they going to let me down? Is it going to be a shoddy service? How can we reverse that risk for the customer? Do we do payment plans? Do we offer them guarantees? Do we give testimonials? Do we show them the awards we've won? All of those things can reverse the risk that the prospect is thinking. So there's some very simple getting customer stuff. There's loads more. But
I love this. By the way, my son's name is Aidan, so I want to do Aidan. I want to add an N on the end.
Yeah.
And this is basically like network.
Yeah.
Right? Because basically, once these people have all bought from you and they're in your system, you create a community, and that feeds back into them promoting you and you getting more customers. One more risk reversal, because the person recommending you is much more powerful than you promoting yourself.
Yeah.
And you create a network. So we do Aidan again, and my son will be happy because he's in the
But that networking thing, that is direct response marketing. Like, if you can do network marketing, not a pyramid scheme, that's not what we're talking about here, but you know, the local carpet fitter has done a good job for you, you recommend him. How can you explode that? Yes, social media really helps.
But I think someone else saying it in the room when you're not there, that's basically the
Yeah.
biggest power. Next up, margin.
Yeah.
So this is a big mistake in some of my businesses as well. I haven't thought enough about margin, I just wanted to business.
Yeah, some people call this I mean, it's slightly different, but let's talk about gross profit margin. So in effect, if we're costing something costs us £1 to do, what do you sell it for? And most people go, right, we'll sell it for £1.50 or £2. And you really need to understand the difference between these two prices in terms of overheads in your business. And it does vary hugely. If you're selling a leveraged product, I mean, you're selling a piece of software. Once you've made it, and you can just go. But if you've got a restaurant, for example, you're going to have huge overheads, and you're going to have turnover taxes that will eat in hugely. And what's a turnover tax? Well, for me, that's VAT, that's employers' NI, that's business rates, insurance premium tax. There's about 12 turnover taxes.
Don't skip this stuff, folks. I know you think it's boring because it counts. You fucking need to know it, so just stick it out.
I mean, for example, if you've got a restaurant, it turns £1 million. Very, very few of them will make 10% profit. In fact, most of them will make sub 5%. So you think you turn in £1 million, and you're lucky if you keep them 50 grand in the restaurant trade.
So if someone's listening and they're starting a business, let's say they're starting a clothing line, for example, how do they make sure they don't fall into this trap? What do you think the process is?
It's hugely difficult to be in fashion lines, because then also you've got loads and loads of stock. You just end up holding stock, and stock is cash. Stock is profit. In fact, you add stock back into your profit at the end of the year, but it's not in physical cash, it's in physical stock. And that fashion line could go out of date. You'll never get it right completely. Even the best brains on the planet that own some of the best fashion brands in the world don't sell out of all their lives.
So you're telling people not to do fashion brands?
But I would do any fashion business.
Is there
unless I was hugely funded and I had a massive, huge, whacking personal brand like I was Taylor Swift, it's maybe then I would consider.
I'm launching a clothing brand, but I'm not Taylor Swift. But I think the way I'm doing it is I'm actually making 50 hoodies and then I'm selling them. And I've got a clear margin, and then I'll sell 100.
That's a good way.
And then I can see the market demand, and then I'll sell more. So I make and sell almost instantly.
Yeah. And there's some things I don't like about fashion as a business as well, is you need different sizes. Right. So you've got to make stuff for large people, medium people, small people.
Just do hats.
Accessories are very smart. Yeah. I was about to reference this to Hermes. Hermes is one of the world's most valuable brands, but they make all their money from accessories. They make a tiny amount of money from the people that are buying a Hermes dress. But that's what gets them the attention of London Fashion Week and all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, belts and scarves, much easier, and socks, much easier than dresses and suits and shirts.
So outside of fashion, if you were starting a business today and trying to be careful of margins, what sort of businesses would you start?
I mean, if you think, so I've got an ice cream parlour, turns about 1.2 million quid, 700,000 comes from ice cream, 500,000 comes from hot food, the restaurant side of it. All of our profit comes from the 700,000, the 500,000 of hot food. Maybe loses a bit of money or breaks even. So if you've got a restaurant, unless it's going over 1.5 million of turnover, I don't think you can be profitable. So you've got a bit of a big restaurant on steroids, so you get leverage of the rents, leverage of the central management team, leverage of the head chef, all of that stuff. So if I was starting a business that was in food, I would be doing quick service stuff with de-skilled staff.
Right, that's basic. Pizza Express model is kind of brilliant. Because
no, I don't even like that.
But they have all the same ingredients, all the different foods. But they're still making profit. They struggle because they got too many leases. They pay too high on rent. Yeah. But they actually want it. But you talk about de-skilled staff. Yeah. No one there is a chef.
But right? Even if you look at pizzas compared to ice cream, a scoop of ice cream, you can train someone in a day. Making pizzas is interesting, even more difficult. So if I was in a business that I was starting out, I'd probably start in a service-based business, build up some working capital. So you would be swapping time for money, but hopefully swapping good money for your time, building up some working capital, and then invest it into stock that there is a hungry audience that would want to buy from you straight away. And there's loads of bits of software. Certainly you can see what people are buying lots of on Amazon. For example, yoga mats is a great example. I'm not into yoga, but yoga mats, it's one size, it's light. You can get a lot on a container, you can bring them into this country, you could build content around yoga and then sell your yoga stuff. And you could send it in the post quite cheap because it's all quite light stuff. I'm not saying people go and do that.
But the margin's simple, isn't it? You know what it costs you, you know what you're selling it for, and you know what it costs to sell it.
You could buy in a yoga mat from the Far East for £2 and sell it for £20 with branding. That's a good business. And maybe it cost you £5, but you could definitely do really well on it. And fashion is quite fast. That yoga mat, you could resell it, do all the work to find it. But it's the same yoga mat in 10 years. Fashion is just not that.
Yeah. People don't spend enough time working on margin because they launch a business and then they realise their margin's bad and they can't actually pay for marketing, they can't pay for good people, they can't grow the brand. So I think this
I know it's all right, but the wages here as well eats into your margins.
Right.
You know, that we talked about turnover taxes just because I've got the ump with that in the UK at the moment, that there's too many more of them than ever before. But this is really raising at the moment, and small businesses are struggling.
Next up, build to exit. Something I say the opposite very often too, but I know why. I'm gonna let
We're talking about this as a philosophy.
Right.
Because I just think it's a really good habit, like exercise. This is an exercise philosophy for any business.
Yeah.
Because if you build an amazing management team and you build an amazing brand, you have amazing services, you get lots of awards, you become valuable because people want to buy it from you, you have IPs, you have patents if you can get them for your business. You have something that's desirable, that someone wants to buy all of this stuff from you, you're going to be more profitable and much better.
This is how I sold my company for.
Yeah.
Basically, exactly this formula. I think it's the final piece. Ironically, the final piece to really management is key, because then you're not trapped in the business as well. You want longevity in a business is important. You've got to stay alive. If you're forced to work in the business every single day, you'll soon burn out. I don't care who you are. The other thing is, not wanting to sell actually creates value.
Absolutely.
If you, like, Mark Zuckerberg was offered $1 billion by Yahoo for his company. He said no. Somehow that creates more people want to invest. It sets a valuation.
Well, there's two things I want to say here as well. I think we'll just talk about the types of people that buy businesses. I'm going to put me and you over here. So this is me and you, canny entrepreneurs looking for a deal. And then over here, we've got people using other people's money to buy companies. So this is the company that's for sale. You know, let's say it's a business that's turning £10 million and it's making 1.5 million of EBITDA. And this is earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization. This is usually on what businesses are valued at. But it's another way of saying the cash the business is spinning off, or another way of, for simplistic terms, net profit. I'm sure people will say, hey, it's not the same, but let's just say this is the profitability of the business. What we want to do, building to exit, is we want to get this number 1.5 closer to 2 million. And this is really important. We want to get our businesses making 2 million profit. Now, people will be watching this going, wow, I mean, that is way too much for me to think about. But actually, the first way of getting to this number is thinking, well, that's what I need to build. Because once you know that's what you want to build, and let me tell you now, if you have children or you've gone through university, it's just a process of learning how to do this thing. So you can build these businesses if you commit it in your mind and that's what you want to build. Now, if you build a £2 million profitable business, that means these buyers are going to be around, people buying with other people's money. If it's under 2 million, you're going to be selling to people like you and me that will want a canny deal, you want to do some seller financing, you want to pay for it over time, you want to knock the price down. But if you go over 2 million, these people, venture capitalists, private equity, big institution, trade buyers will pay a multiple of this, much more than the multiples that we would buy.
So, I by the way, this is so true, and there's one other element I'll just quickly add, which is corporate purchases. Yeah. So I built systems and a company and a brand that the company that bought me was able to scale because they had 50 offices around the world. Right. PwC bought my company, right? So sometimes there's also building something that if a bigger company bought you, so they didn't base it on EBITDA. They based it on what they could make the business do over the next 3 years, and they paid me for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's another way to think about it. The corporate buyer is another. I mean, still have people's money in a way, but
yeah, because when I said trade buyer, usually these corporate trade buyers are backed by pension funds, venture capital. Yeah. So it's, basically they're buying opportunity and management teams.
Yeah, systems.
Systems.
Yeah. So again, PwC partly bought my company because of culture, brand, and systems. We had case studies of stuff we've done in the past.
How many years ago did you sell?
5 years ago.
Was it the best thing that ever happened to you?
First 6 months, yes. After that, I was pretty depressed.
Was you?
Yeah, I think this is why I tell people not to build a business to exit, because actually it's building it that's the fun bit, and actually then having a lifestyle afterwards, if you build it right, is the fun bit. I sold it. I felt like I'd sold my family.
Yeah.
I was suddenly like, who am I? I'm Simon Squibb with business knowledge. That's it. I'm not. I was Simon Squibb that built Fluid. I was Simon Squibb that built Nest. When I sold these things, I just didn't have I lost my identity for a while.
Yeah,
and my purpose as well. Like, I get up every day and go to work, and I enjoy my work, and suddenly, I had loads of money in the bank, but for a lot of people listening to this, they probably won't understand it until they've done it. But that's why I tell people, try to build something you just love to work on, you love to build out. But yeah, great lesson. Next, what's next? 1M plus,
and then management.
1M plus management, right?
What does this mean?
What does it mean?
Micro businesses is how you start, and then you're going to become an SME. So usually you're swapping time for money here. We want to get out of that into SMEs. So we've got the entrepreneur's pyramid that I always talk about. 80% of business owners are down here, 15% are here, and 5% are here. We want to be climbing up this entrepreneur's pyramid. Over here, we've got the business owners that are swapping time for money. They've built themselves profitable jobs. What we don't want is profitable jobs. We want to be building commercial profitable enterprise that over time works without us in it, so that someone would want to buy it even if we have no intention of selling it. Now the top 20% up here, they become like the MDs of their business. So they've started putting technicians in place down here to run the day-to-day. They're like the MD of the business. And then the top 5% are like shareholders of their business. They put an MD in place and the business runs without them. And they're driving up this entrepreneur's pyramid. They're delegating, but they're not abdicating. And that's a big lesson here. So they're growing the business, and these people are operating it. And that's the big crucial difference.
People are so scared to do the MD bit. You've got to hire people in that are better than you, become specialists. People start as generalists, and they don't move into specialists. They don't let people come in and take the roles that are very, very focused, because they're scared of paying these people.
Well, the reason they're scared of paying it is this is why you should aim to try and get to $1 million of revenue as soon as possible, so you've got some cash flow around you to pay for this management, to put this structure in place. Otherwise, what happens is you become a burden to your business. You are the superhero of the business, and you end up, you're cooking Sunday lunch thinking about what stuff you
make yourself a martyr,
Yeah.
unnecessarily a martyr. But the other thing people can do about this, which I really love, is that they sell time for money, yes, but they can, in this triangle piece, exchange outcomes for money. So, for example, if you've got a creative agency and you're selling your services, graphic design, instead of selling the amount of hours you spent on the design, sell the product. I mean, the Nike logo was famously sold for $35, right? It only took her an hour. Later she got shares in the company and it was worth 500 million or something. But the point is that people shouldn't sell time, they should sell outcomes. Whatever they're working on, ultimately should be an outcome. Unless it's a product business, of course, then that's different.
But ultimately, usually, even I did, I was swapping time for money, but you need to be aware of that. I think that's the big thing, that you're aware that you're doing that and not get to 65 and go, all I've done is swap time for money. If you start in the first few years doing that, which is how most people start, look at Charlie Mullins, massive multi-millionaire plumber now. He started swapping time for money, but worked up the entrepreneur's pyramid.
I just met him recently. He's fascinating.
Yeah, fascinating guy.
But that's fair point as well, because I'm really anti people getting a job. But I think sometimes if you can swap time for money and learn stuff, because that's what partly we're saying is like, it's okay to swap time for money if you're learning how to look after a customer, or how to build a customer base, or how to build up your brand. So. Great.
So not everyone is capable of the risk of entrepreneurship. That I do believe.
Right, we can debate that in a minute, because I don't agree. But I know why people think that. But I think it's because
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, healthy debate on why that's wrong. But it's nothing wrong with the opinion. Nothing wrong with it. Okay, what are we doing next? Okay, number 5 is number 4. That's really confusing.
Yeah.
Go ahead, tell us what we're supposed to know.
What we want to do is we want to create a business or a system where people buy from us in 4 quick successions. This is why I love my day nursery business. So you come on a Monday, you get to know our staff, see you on Tuesday, see you on Wednesday, see you on Thursday. We're creating habit very quickly of dealing with your business. Most businesses do not have this. Let's look at Netflix, for example. You watch Stranger Things, you can't wait to watch the next episode very, very quickly. You become habitual to the business. Your bank account, if whoever you bank with, you're using it every single day, you build habits. Your insurance company, your credit card, any of those businesses where you trade or interact with them 4 times in quick succession will mean that the customer becomes very loyal to you, proprietary to you, and are blinded to the competition. Now, not a lot of businesses have this, but if you can be aware of it, come up with a solution to try and get it in. I always tell the restaurant story about a restaurant in New York that uses napkins, different coloured napkins, so all the staff know who's been in the restaurant the first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time, so the staff are training there.
You're back again. Oh, this is the third time you've been here. That's amazing. Thanks for coming back. So people thought, we respect it.
And they're giving them free stuff to get them to trade with them 4 times in quick succession.
Well, that's what all these loyalty stamps are for coffee shops. Like, come back and you get another chop for your coffee shop for the coffee, right?
Supermarkets are a great one as well, using Nectar or Club Card points.
By the way, scientifically, for my sins, I worked on a project with Coca-Cola and they brainwashed me a bit. I don't like Coca-Cola today, but they basically explained to me that if someone tastes a product 3 times, then they can become addicted to that product. And so, for example, if you're switching from one type of Coke to another type of Coke, you only need to taste the other type of Coke 3 times before you won't like the previous Coke anymore. Yeah. So when you take sugar out of your tea, you only need to drink tea 3 times before you won't be able to drink tea with sugar in it again.
Right.
3 times, that's all you need. It's a scientific fact, chemically. So 4 makes sense. Why not 5?
I don't know. When I've studied this, and I've read this in a book somewhere, and I've put it into
stolen from someone else's idea.
This is not. There's
no original idea of business anyway. It's all done by someone else. But I like this. I think 3 or 4 times habit building. I'm actually trying to do it right now, by the way, with my Help Bank platform. We're saying to people like, if you're meditating every day, then go and help someone every day. You'll feel good if you do it, and if you do, and then people are doing it. The more they go on, the more they go back.
You see this also in our day nurseries, like the first day a child comes into a nursery for the first time, or the first day at school, you're a bit nervous. This is second day. Well, I know.
Well, they've kind of got no choice but to go to the kids. Right?
But if day nurseries are a business, and the parents choose where they go, and this is what I've seen.
The thing with the day nursery, a friend of mine also owns a day nursery business, and one thing he said to me was that the only annoying thing is they grow up and they don't come back. So he was like, I should start building something that when they're like 9, I can start selling them something.
Yeah, so what we've done is
ice cream.
No, we've got an indoor play centre that fills the day nursery. We're now putting after-school education tuition rooms, and once they go to school, they go into education classes.
Let's go back to the Anand thing, the Aiden thing I was saying earlier, because if you build that funnel and you've got all of those things, you kind of want to keep them in your life, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, next, I love the habit one. Thanks for that. Hungry. I'm going to spell this wrong now because I am dyslexic.
Oh, you're there.
Hungry audience. Right, tell us about this. What do we need to know?
Well, hungry audience, if you're a SME business, if you're an entrepreneur getting going, or things are, you're turning some money and thinking, God, this is difficult. This is going to make everything easy. There's a guy called Dan Kennedy, who's an amazing marketeer. One of the best, I think. And he talks about a football stadium. If you want to sell hot dogs, you want to sell in a football stadium with 70,000 people in it. That's a hungry audience. And how can you take that philosophy into your business? Now, I've come up with a little thing called love, want and need. If people love what you do, they want what you do, and they need what you do, you're always going to be in business. But crucially, most businesses only have 2 of these.
So as long as you've got the margin bit sorted out.
Yeah. So if you look at the iPhone, I think it's the best way of saying this. If my iPhone breaks today, I love my iPhone, I want my iPhone, I need my iPhone, I will change my day to get it repaired because I need it. I hate to say that, but that is just the reality of it. So when I had coronavirus and lots of my visitor attractions and hospitality businesses were closed down, I bought a food services business, an ice cream business, because I noticed that people loved food. They wanted food and they needed food. All the supermarkets went like gangbusters in coronavirus because they had this love, want and need and a hungry audience. People were going out of their way to buy pasta. They were travelling an hour to find food for their family, just in that bit where the supermarkets were mad. So if you can find businesses that have a hungry audience that want to buy from you straight away, right now, finding businesses that follow this love, want and need. For example, there's always going to be a hungry audience for waste removal. There's always going to be that.
I love this.
MOT station.
I'm going to, hopefully, I've got a Tesla, I don't have the MOT.
Yeah.
But one thing, I'm going to just say something about love. In fact, I think love can override want and need. So, for example, we recently launched a sweet brand. We sold sweets. No one ever wanted them. They didn't need them. They never tasted them.
Yeah.
But they loved what we were doing. So we sell those sweets, and all the profit goes to fund people's dreams. So the love was so strong, people made themselves want it, and then they kind of created a need. So I just think sometimes love I call it purpose, I guess. What is the purpose of your business? If there is a purpose beyond yourself, you can almost eventually create habit, create the want, and create the need. Certainly people bought the sweets, didn't need them.
I think what the way I would explain this is if you've got a Louis Vuitton handbag, people, some women love them, they want them, but they don't need it. And so I'm trying to find businesses that I do where love on it. And my childcare business is that they love their children to be educated, they want them to be educated. Actually, they're going to work and they need someone to look after their children while they're going to work. So we tick all three.
But what you've got is like love yours versus someone else's. So how do you make sure they love yours and not someone else's?
Well, that's by building in a brilliant business so that you're the top market leader. Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's brand building, right? So that's also the brand. I think build a brand, not a business, is something I always say.
Absolutely, yeah. And brand means trust, yeah.
Yeah. I love hungry audience. And looking for a hungry audience is just a smart thing to think about. So hopefully that's taught you.
Because when entrepreneurs and business owners are starting, they're thinking about themselves.
Yeah, well, they want a clothing line, for example. They're not necessarily, they'll be cool because I own a clothing line.
There's a little phrase here, I'm going to write it here, but you are not your customer. Especially if you become successful.
Yeah.
If you're a business owner and entrepreneur and you start earning £100,000 a year, that is a very tiny amount of people. It's just not the case. And most people are, on £27,000, £28,000 a year. So you think, everyone will pay a fireman for that. Well, maybe they won't.
No,
because they haven't got that money. So you might not.
I think this is a great framework to build your business on. I would only, just for the sake of kind of pushback, is that you can build a business where you are the customer. Sometimes, like, for example, Ben Francis at Gymshark, who I've had on my podcast, he built a business the way he was the customer. His price point was what he wanted to pay, the product he was wearing was what he wanted to wear. And in some respects, that can be really empowering because you know exactly the pain point you're solving. So, like, for example, at Helpbank, I am the customer. The 15-year-old me is the customer. I remember what it was like not to get help, not to have help when I needed it at scale, no community. So it can be quite powerful to make yourself the customer.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
Now that is very smart. So I know someone that is a marketing person that used to work for me. She used to have a picture. She marketed into the family market, and she was older, and she had a picture of a family next to her desk to remind her that actually I'm marketing to them.
Right.
That they're just about getting by. They've got just enough time. They're stressed out. They're not 55, 60, where they've paid their mortgage off and everything's much easier. And it's good to remind yourself most of the time you're not your customer.
Yeah, totally right. I agree with you. That's awesome. Okay, next is 4 companies.
Yeah, so this is again a philosophy. Draw a little grid here and you write 1, 2, 3, 4. And then number 1 is the company you are today. And this has to pay the bills, and it might necessarily be the thing that you want to do. Number 2 is the company you really want to be. This is your finished company. Effectively, you're playing fantasy football, but what does your dream look like at the end? Number 3 is a marketing company or a media company. So this is a philosophy again, Simon. We're not actually telling you we're a building marketing company here, but it's a philosophy. Number 4 is a propco for me, but it could be an investment company. I'm just going to borrow this up here. These businesses, or these generate fast pounds, and down here we've got slow pounds. The wealth is built here, and the cash flow is built here. What we do with this media and marketing company is we're creating well-qualified leads into these 2 companies. Let's start breaking down. So company number 1, for me, I was a kids entertainer, but what I really wanted was visitor attractions and locations for people to come from my businesses. So swapping time for money, but I knew that that's what I wanted. I wanted my own zoos, I wanted my own theme parks and visitor attractions. So I was going through the steps to get me there. Kids entertainer, but I wanted my own locations. But what a lot of people do is go, well, I'll start when I've got my own zoo. Well, come on. That's not right. You know, if you look at some of the best entrepreneurs in the world, let's look at Richard Branson. What he really wanted to do was space tourism, but he started selling records. He found a hungry audience that wanted to buy music. They loved music, they wanted it. And in some cases, I think human beings do need music sometimes. They love it so much. And so he went through the steps to get to where he really wanted to be. What he's also excellent at is marketing and media, driving warm, qualified leads into these two companies. Walt Disney would be another great example. The company he started with was actually a media company creating cartoons. What he wanted to do was open theme parks and do full-length feature films. And he built a media company driving in warm leads, buying the tourists, going on the hotels and all of this sort of stuff. Now, both of those entrepreneurs have also invested some of their money into investments, whether that be property and people and brand investments.
No, I agree with you. Investment side, I hate property. Just my bugbear is property, but I hear you.
So these are I call these slow pounds and fast pounds.
It's great. It's a great framework.
So what happens is most people forget this over here and this over here. They just spend all their money on generating more fast pounds, and I get that, more cash flow, more turnover, but actually let's build some wealth as well, because you know, what if you are an entrepreneur, you've got a family, you want them to have some, as time goes on, if you get ill or something, you want to be able to lean on this to really help you. If you look at a company like Thomas Cook, you remember the travel agent company? So they went through this, but they got really rubbish at marketing, so they lost this company. They were terrible at it. They weren't doing all the modern stuff. They had loads of hotels, loads of aeroplanes, loads of assets. They sold all that off and done sale and leasebacks so they could do more top.
They went back down the stairs, they climbed up.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
when they were in trouble, they couldn't go here to the bank and say, look, we've got all these hotels, we've got all these planes, can you lend us some money so we can sort ourselves out? Like Marks and Spencer's.
Owning property is the business, I agree with. As a property portfolio thing, I really have an issue with it because I think it damages
buy-to-let.
Yeah, I hate buy-to-let, and I hate that. It's not a real business in my mind. So when people are listening, I want to make sure they understand the difference of what you just said there, because first of all, this is how I also made my money. I started a service company. I basically had an agency. It was cash flow, and I took that money. And what I really wanted initially was to invest in people's businesses. I wanted to invest in companies, but I didn't have a lot of capital to invest in these companies. But I took the profit from my agency and I started investing in startups.
Yeah.
So
that would be here.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You can mix the two, because what I wanted to do was invest in businesses. That's what I wanted to be, an angel investor.
So that would be, for me, that would be here. So that's a prop or an investment company is over here. This here is the company you are today, but also know what the main company looks like when it's finished.
Well, when I was young, I didn't have that much vision. I just knew that I liked
the difference.
Yeah, I know.
If you did, you would have been more successful.
Well,
than you are already now.
What are you saying? But I think it's a great framework. I guess there's also an element, I would say, because these four things here makes it sound like they have to do it in this order: 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, I don't think so. 3, for example, to me is personal brand.
Yeah.
But today, if I was starting a business, the first thing I do is just build up my personal brand, because whatever I do in the future, if I've got a community following my journey of discovering what I'm going to start. When I started, you can have some service business quite quickly. Yeah. You can even have, maybe if you want to do product business, some clients quite quickly for your product. Right. I think today, this order, I don't want people to get confused, 1, 2, 3, 4, but I actually ended up doing 1 and 4 and 3 combined. Right? Yeah, I had a service business, and my end goal was an investment business, which happened to be your fourth here, but was also my business. I had an angel investment vehicle called Nest. I invested in 78 companies. That's actually how I made my money, apart from selling my company. But I think this number 3 point today is so critical. Personal brand, whether you like it or not, everyone's a personal brand now.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But when you look at what the examples I gave, Richard Branson and Walt Disney, they did this when it was very hard to have personal brand. They had access to their own movie studios and copious amounts of money on the BBC.
I would push back. Richard Branson just did crazy gimmicks.
Yeah, he did.
He didn't have a lot of money. In fact, he talks a lot about how he had no money to do Virgin Atlantic.
What I'm just it was much harder then to do that stuff than it is now. Now it's about effort.
Well, now it's about effort, but it's also about innovation and imagination. Like, I think people don't put themselves out there enough. They don't take enough risk on personal brand. They're too precious or too scared to go in front of camera, which I know some people might be introverts, they might not go on camera, but you've got to take risk. Richard Branson, Elon Musk, they've all taken risk, right? And that's, you get more success from taking risk. Than the harder you work, the luckier you get. It's not true. The more risk you take, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
But I love this framework. This is brilliant. Fast pounds, slow pounds, or dollars if we're in America. It's all good. Thanks for showing me that, man. Last but not least, people.
Yeah, you don't want to be a one-man army. So there's a couple of things that we're going to talk about here, which is E plus M equals S, and then this little chart that I do.
That's an Einstein thing there. You're really confusing us.
Yeah, it's
E plus M equals S.
So this is entrepreneurship plus management equals success. If you roll the dice and go, right, we're going to go and build a business here, we're going to do something, usually you fall into this camp. And you're growing the business, but what you really need is a really good manager that can operate the business. And once the entrepreneur discovers the management around them, they have more power to take more risks and go and get more contracts and buy more companies and do that because they know they've got a really strong M around them, and they are personality types. I've got a little analogy that I like to explain with people. Say you're running a school. The entrepreneur is the head teacher. The manager is the teacher. A head teacher is only as strong as their teachers, and the teachers only want to move mountains and do more on the power of that head teacher. So you could really say this is leadership as well. This is leadership plus management equals success. Very rare that one person can do both effectively. There are examples of it, but it's very rare. You want someone out there growing the business and someone out there operating the business. Now, with lots of the things that I talk about, we're talking about the philosophy of into the future. And so this little chart that I do, I love doing this because I think it's a really cool way of doing a 2-minute business plan. Up here we're going to write 1 year, and up here we're going to write 10 years. And then over here we're going to write profit, revenue, team, culture, and you. Go across here. What I do with this chart when I help entrepreneurs is it's just forcing them to think bigger. And there is a magic of thinking bigger. You've obviously got it, son, but most people think too small and get small results. And this chart will help you do it. So most people say, well, what are you going to turn over this year? It's a very business question to ask, what's your revenues? Well, actually, start thinking about the profit. So this year we're going to make 100,000 profit. To make the 100,000, we need to bring in 1 million of revenue. And then we're going to identify what our team look like. Maybe we've got a general manager, a bookkeeper, some technicians, and we write down what our team are. And then what's the culture of the business? Because culture drives sales and drives good feelings. And what do you do to make all this happen? What's your role in the business? Now, most people can do that. There's only a year ahead. Yeah, we can do that. We can write out New Year's resolutions. Now I'm going to tell you, I want you to think about what it looks like in 10 years' time, not in 2 years' time or 3 years' time. It becomes a much more thought-out process. Well, I'm going to go for 1 million profit. That's 10 years' time. I've got plenty of time to do that. Right, I need to bring in 5 million or 10 million to bring in that 1 million. Now, I'm going to ask you a really, really more thought-out question. What does the team look like that's going to make that happen? Because it's not this team. Maybe you need an FD now. Maybe you need a managing director, not a general manager. Maybe you need a marketing director, an R&D person. You're going to really start laying this out. And then what's the culture of these people? Because in my experience, once you go over 12 people, your culture gets eroded. Think about going out for dinner. It's the best way of explaining this. You go out for dinner with 6 people. Oh, I'll get the bill tonight. Now, no one says, oh, I didn't have a starter or I didn't drink tonight. You go out with 12 people. Some people want to pay part cash, part card. Some people didn't have a starter. Some people don't want to go there or I don't like that. Whatever it is.
I've got a team of 13 right now, so I'm bad up. I know what you mean. They're all bloody whingers.
Yeah. As soon as you go over 12 people, culture changes and you have to work very hard on making sure that you have your processes in place. But lastly, you're probably not even going to be in the business of this.
So what about it?
B times do equals have. So if you want to have that £1 million profit business that turns 5 million quid and has an amazing team, who have you got to become? What have you got to do to have that stuff?
And do you want it?
And do you want it? Yeah.
Because it's
most people, they might not want a massive business. They might just want a lifestyle.
Certainly not everyone wants to be Elon Musk. That's for sure. I wouldn't want his life, personally.
No. So that's...
So on the question of people, this is the perfect end to this video, because I will say to you, I think everyone can be an entrepreneur. And actually, under the subject of people, my argument is, let's say you've got a team of people doing different things. Now, you might frame them up as not entrepreneurs. Let's say, for example, my accountant in my last business was actually my best salesperson. People are like, an accountant, a salesperson. And although you might not label them up as an entrepreneur, without them, my business wouldn't have done as well. So I believe everybody should own equity in the business and think like an entrepreneur and work with people who have skills you don't have. And maybe you can call them entrepreneurial skills if you want. But I see a lot of people, like my wife, for example, when I met her, she's a designer. She doesn't think she's an entrepreneur because she's an artist, but she is. She just doesn't know the fundamentals of how to charge properly, how to invoice properly. These things can either be hired in or she can learn them. There is no one that can't be an entrepreneur if they want. It doesn't mean to say everyone should, but I want personally to make sure that everyone at least has the knowledge to be able to be one if they want, and not just have to go to university and then get a job because that's the only option they've got.
I think some people are better in a management position. I can't manage people, so I'm not good at it. I don't want...
But some would argue that could be a trait of a bad entrepreneur. But what you do
so
as
I
a clever entrepreneur is you hire it.
Yeah, and I think some people don't have the risk appetite and are comfortable with the risk.
It's just built up. It's like anything. Risk is like stamina.
There's certainly, and I think there's evidence coming out now that certain entrepreneurial people have traits, DNA traits, that allow them to...
What's this study? I don't know. I haven't seen it. It's kind of it's a limiting belief system that we project.
It's not limiting. I want everyone to be super successful, but actually you could be number one or number two in a company and have an amazing life, but not the person that's going to sign a £10 million personal guarantee or take the...
But there's a different type of entrepreneur, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's different types. I guess that's what my framing is around it. It's like, maybe you're not going to be the entrepreneur that's going to do the Elon Musk risk. Sure, like we just discussed, I completely agree with that. But I just think entrepreneurship's been inflated into this thing where everyone's driving to be Elon Musk. Whereas my argument is, if you're a car delivery driver today, but you're an artist, then you could become an entrepreneur. You just need to learn how to sell your art online. You need to check if your art, back to your graph, has a market audience.
Yeah, you should always be upskilling yourself.
Exactly.
Sharpening yourself.
I think entrepreneurship is an upskilling.
Yeah, and if you want to earn more money, upskill yourself.
Yep.
There's a brilliant little phrase, that an education will create you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune.
But I love it. A lot of people say to me, no, not everyone can be an entrepreneur. And I've had this many times on my social media. I'm like, please tag someone who could not be an entrepreneur. Give them 6 months with me. I promise you they'll be an entrepreneur. It's all teachable in schools. Like financial literacy. It's like people saying to me, I'm not good with money. I'm like, why are you not good with money? It's just learn how money works.
That is absolutely true.
It's the same with entrepreneurship. There's different types of doctors. There's different types of lawyers. There's lawyers that will take risks. There's lawyers that have bad ethics. There's lawyers that have good ethics. It's just the same framework.
There's this little word here. The most successful people in our society are unbelievable amounts of hunger.
Yeah.
Whether that's as a doctor, as a head teacher.
That can be taught as well. Hunger can be taught.
I'm not so sure.
Show me someone who's not an entrepreneur and I'll make them hungry in a year.
Some people have an ability to take on more and cope with stress.
But have you built that up? I mean, you were a children's entertainer. You built that up.
I couldn't wait to borrow money straight away.
I've never borrowed money, so that's a different strategy. I've never borrowed money.
A lot of people can't do that.
But I've never borrowed money.
Yeah,
so I can't do that.
I've borrowed millions.
Yeah, but I think that's a different type of doctor. Yeah, right? You're a brain surgeon and I'm a heart surgeon. It's just different strategies to get to the same thing. It doesn't really matter. But my risk is more like my time. That's the risk. I tell people I don't see my wife enough. I don't see my kid enough. That's the sort of risk that I don't like doing, but I'm doing it.
Well, change it.
Well, They're outside the door right now. I'm going to see them in a minute.
Yeah.
You know? I'm kind of joking, but also just illustrating that I think there's just a big misconception about what an entrepreneur is.
Yeah, but I think if you could be a solopreneur and create some side hustles, that's pretty low risk. But it's not for everyone to get tied up in big legal contracts and deal with and take on a.
But that's your style of entrepreneurship. That's all. Yeah. I think it's.
But building side hustles and generating more income, everyone should.
Not everyone to do because the government's policy is. Turn off your kettle and save £100 a year. Like, I don't want people to turn off their fucking kettle.
No.
They've got a phone in their hand. I want them to fucking make some money.
But the thing is, but people don't want to put 10% more effort in. A lot of people don't.
Prove me wrong. Make 10% more effort. Should we go have some chicken? You hungry?
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye. And don't forget, go to surfshark.com/Simon Squibb for 4 extra months of Surfshark on me.